How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm all right.
Good.
I want to go back to the beginning first. I've read that you're from a very musical household. So what did get you into music?
Initially, when I was really young, my dad encouraged us to learn instruments. So I was encouraged to play guitar, and we always had guitars around the house because he played a bit of guitar and was a bit of a collector. So it was kind of natural that the curiosity would make us end up playing music. And then, so I did that for a little while when I was around 12 or 13. And then when I was about 15, I really discovered music, like a real love of music.
In what way?
I remember hearing bands like Nirvana. I remember when I heard Nirvana for the first time, and I was just really kind of blown away with the power of that. And that was what really made me fall in love with music.
What was it about Nirvana in particular then that sparked your interest?
Well, I think that all music, all the rock and roll that was coming out, and not just rock, but all the pop and everything that was coming out just prior to that had gotten really, it was very slick and manufactured, and it lost a lot of honesty. And then all of a sudden Nirvana came out, and there was this, it was just a breath of fresh air. So I think for young ears like mine at that point, I just heard this music that was really stood out amongst everything else. So it was just really unique.
Like raw? Yeah,
really raw, really honest, and really inspired.
Is that something you strive for in your own music as well?
I mean, I know we don't sound like Nirvana, but I do think that we try to keep an element of rawness in what we do. Probably not to the extent that it's grunge music, but you know, having guitars and keeping some of that you know, energy and excitement that guitars and those kinds of, and organic instruments bring. So, in a way.
Okay. Well, you mentioned all the guitars laying around. You play in the band with your brothers. Did it develop for them as naturally as it did for you as well, with picking up instruments and? I mean, Michael was a real natural on the drums. Actually, what happened was he really just all of a sudden found himself playing in the band where he was quite young. And I needed a drummer, and he actually had a drum kit. That his original drum kit consisted of cake tins. Actually, two of the cake tins were Dutch butter cookies. So actually, he has a tie to the Netherlands, and so he had a kick drum that was a plank of wood with a kick pedal. The toms were made of cookie tins, and the cymbals were bread racks. And the snare, I think, was a practice snare. So and then all of a sudden we needed a drummer. So I actually bought him a drum kit with money I'd saved with my first job working at KFC. And so all of a sudden he had a drum kit and he was in the band. So, but he was a real natural, like it came really easy. What did that initial drum kit sound like? Terrible.
But it was, I think, at least it gave him some experience working on the independence that you need as a drummer. You know, there was where there should have been drums, there was at least something to hit. I don't know if we have a photo of it though. It was sitting out. What happened is we had this thing, we built it for him, and he practiced on it as a kid, and then we got him a new drum kit, and then we put this thing out the back of our garage, and then eventually, like, the weather just rotted, you know, it rusted away, and then we threw it away, I think, which is a shame.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you still have it?
No, I don't even know if we have a photo of it, which is a pity because it was quite amazing.
Okay. Well, you guys started building your own studio. Now, at that point, what was the ambition for you guys?
The ambition was to have a professional. I mean, we actually had two studios. There was one that we built when we were really young. It was basically just in a space in a garage that was just like a lot of people's home studios. And acoustically, it wasn't ideal, and it was also quite small. So then we ended up setting about building a studio a few years ago now, maybe 3 or more years ago, we decided that we needed to build a studio. And the aim was to have a facility that was comparable to a professional studio, you know, and it is. And so that we had a space that we could record and experiment with different things without having to go to another studio. And so we did that, and it took us 2 years to build.
Was it a difficult task? And I know you had some help from your father.
Yeah, we all worked on it. He has an engineering background, so he was very helpful to have on board for that. So we kind of evolved as we were building it. We had an idea of what we wanted to do, but you know, we did certain things, and then we kind of would stop and work out, okay, what do we want to do here? And so it was all new. None of us had built a studio before, so we learnt how to put floorboards down and do all those kinds of manual labour tasks that needed to be done, like putting up ceilings and putting in windows and that sort of thing. Okay. So we learned a lot.
Did it make you appreciate the work you've done more?
Yeah, and it definitely made us appreciate the facility that we had. And now, whenever we go into another studio, I think we're always really interested to see what other people have done. Compare studios, you know.
What do you? Well, let's say the last time you went into a studio, what did you think in comparison to your own studio?
I can't remember. I'm not sure exactly what the last one was, but I know we did go into a studio somewhere in America a little while ago, and I thought, you know what, there's a few things I could have done differently here.
And are those things that you really missed then? And I'm not sure if you then recorded, but...
Well, no, this was just I did a brief recording there. It was for a radio station, but I think one of the things that we spent a lot of time on was acoustics. So in a room like this here, there's a lot of echoing, there's a lot of hard surfaces, so we spent a lot of time building absorbers that go on the wall and absorb the sound, and so that it sounds more contained, more natural. So things like that. Like I notice when studios have done that, and I notice when they haven't done that.